Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com, and today I want to talk about how it's important that you are able to learn from anyone. I was watching someone today talk in an interview, and they were talking about how they saw someone that was 18 years old and how they were literally calling someone else to come watch this 18-year-old talk about their business because they're going to point out all the bad things and all how wrong they were and how they can't possibly know anything. And this is an elderly person doing this. And they were shocked by the 18-year-old knew more than they did. And that they had a lot of wisdom and a lot of understanding in their business that this older person didn't have. This is a fatal flaw. Many people are going around thinking that whether it's because of their age or because of their social status, that they don't need to learn from anybody, or they can't even learn from anybody. These people couldn't possibly have anything I could learn from. And they get lifted up in arrogance and pride. They get that haughty spirit about them, and it is destructive. It shuts you off from learning. It shuts you off from the wisdom of God. Because here's one of the things people don't understand sometimes is that the wisdom of God can come from a child speaking a word, and if you have an open heart to hear, you can receive. It is utterly foolish to go around through life thinking you have it all figured out, you have everything you need to know, you don't need to know anything else, or that people who you believe are lower than you don't have anything you could possibly learn from. Now, some people won't be that brazen like that woman was, and her just mockery of this young person because they're young and they couldn't possibly know anything in her mind. But they prove they think they're above other people. They prove they think they're above learning from anyone else, and the fact they don't do anything each day to learn and to grow. They're not even seeking any wisdom. They're not even seeking knowledge that is infinitely available to them. They just are going through life, doing the things they're doing, thinking that's good enough. The status quo is enough. You don't need to improve. You don't need to do any better. You've already got it all figured out. And that is fundamentally a destructive and utterly foolish mentality to have. I know for myself, as I've gotten more knowledge over the years and learned a lot more, and in many cases, know more than probably 99% of the people out there, maybe 99.9. With that being said, and that's not to pat myself on the back, please hear this whole thought before you make any conclusions. I still realize how little I know. I had someone one time tell me, you just know so much. And I'm thinking to myself, and I told them this, I know so little. It's not that I know more than other people, it's that other people know so little and I know so little. But they're not even striving to get ahead of where they are. They're not even striving to be in a better place, knowledge and wisdom-wise, than they are today. They're just content, and I'm not content. I love the truth, and I love learning and growing in wisdom and knowledge and working out that truth in my daily life. Now, you can look around you, look at average people, look at what they do. Look at when they get old and how they are. Like that woman who was sitting there criticizing a young person and just, without even knowing anything about this young woman, ready to destroy her, ready to rip into her, ready to say she couldn't possibly know anything. Is that where you want to be? Do you want to be that person in your 60s and 70s and 80s and whatever? And you think you got it all figured out when you know very little? You know, it's one thing for somebody to be arrogant and to feel like they got it all figured out. But how pathetic is it when somebody thinks they got it all figured out and they have almost nothing figured out? It's truly tragic. Because if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself, be honest with your limitations, be honest with your shortcomings, and seek to grow out of those things and seek to improve. If you look at yourself in the mirror and think you got it all figured out, everything's good, you don't need to learn from anybody, you couldn't possibly learn from these other people. They're beneath you. That's going to be so limiting and destructive to your growth as a person. And the important thing, as this ties into success and being profitable in life, is that if you will not grow, you're going to stagnate, and really stagnation, the only thing that is really death. If you're not growing, you're simply dying. So my friend, I want to encourage you today. Don't think you're above somebody else. Don't think you can't learn from them. Now listen, I'm not telling you to blindly accept everything either. But I'm telling you, as a person of wisdom and substance and character, you can hear somebody out, filter through it, determine what's valuable and what's accurate and what's invalid, and benefit from the accurate things they said. In many cases, it may not even be, if you've reached a certain point, you really got a lot of wisdom, it may not be new stuff to you that they're telling you, but it might be stuff that's been refreshed for you, something you may have forgotten about, something you may not have even thought about in years. So they're refreshing that for you. That's a benefit. That's growth if you can bring something up that you already knew in the past, but you haven't been putting into action, and they can be brought up and you can realize that and take some action on it. That's a great benefit. So don't look for it has to be some great revelation like a scroll coming down from heaven. But there could be little things to your daily life, just the way somebody acts, the way somebody treats someone else, that you can take note of and adjust yourself and improve your character in the process. Because in the end, that's what really matters. You're not going to get to be successful. You're not going to get to be that abundant person, including health and life and vibrance, if you're not improving your character each and every day. And you certainly do not have an improved character if you're thinking you're above somebody else, that they're beneath you, that they're just low and you couldn't possibly learn anything from them. That is not a person of character's mentality. So my friend, I want to encourage you today. Be open to listen and hear from other people. Even if you think they're wrong in a lot of stuff. Even if you think they're in the wrong place in life. I'm not saying you have to take everything they say. Maybe 99% of the stuff they say is completely wrong. But that 1% could be very valuable to you. But you won't ever get that if you're just shutting people down, if you're thinking you're above them, if you're walking around all puffed up and lifted up in your heart, thinking you're better than everybody else. You won't get that benefit you can get from being open to the wisdom of God and open to hearing from other sources that maybe don't fit the exact criteria that you would accept as a person to hear from. There might be some great wisdom available to you that you've been shutting down that could have been a true blessing in your life. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.